As an entrepreneur, two things have to change. One, your mindset, and two, the visionary thinking process. So when you want to start a business, you need to understand the opportunity that lies in the market as well as from the growth standpoint of view. Overall, in the EDP program, what do we tend to do is that make you understand the risk in a practical manner. Good morning and welcome to the first session in Unit 2 in Entrepreneurship and Small Business Management, where we are going to talk about the EDP program. Now, what is this EDP program all about? Is more on the Entrepreneurship Development Program, which actually helps in developing the entrepreneurial abilities. Now, the most interesting part that we are going to look in today is that though you might be talented, though you know everything about a business, how to start it and how to take it forward, but definitely you need training. You need to equip yourself with all the necessary talent skills so that you are able to take forward the organization without any barriers, without any hitch altogether. Now, that is why the EDP program that is being designed by the EDII, Ahmedabad, that is the Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India in Ahmedabad, they've come up with a very clear set of programs that can make the people, especially the entrepreneurs, understand what is the need of the hour. Most of us, when we want to start a business, we only think about profit. We only think about the capital maximization. We think about labor issues. That's it. But we never think about what we exactly need to equip ourselves. How do we need to look into the business? How to develop the business? How to take it forward? These things are not in our mind. That's quite natural. Why? Because we are only scared and we are only concerned about the factor called as the capital investment that has gone inside. So what do we do here is that we train the entrepreneurs with the skills that are needed to run the business successfully. Now, the most important and interesting part of a training program is not just training the entrepreneur, not just getting him known to certain theoretical factors, but putting him to test, which means to say that we are going to equip you with those kind of skills that will actually make you understand practically what are the challenges in terms of running the business. So EDP as a program is a very, very exciting cycle altogether, and they have different types of program which keep running through the year. You can just visit their website at the EDII, where you will be able to see different programs that are running throughout the calendar year. Now, moving further, now let's just talk about the EDP program in detail. It is not just a training program, but a complete process to make a possible transformation into an entrepreneur. I'm very excited about this word called as transformation. Why? Because as an entrepreneur, two things have to change. One, your mindset, and two, the visionary thinking process. Now, when we talk about the mindset, as an entrepreneur, you should be ready to understand that you have already taken a risk and you should not get back on it. The risk that you have taken is not just because you wanted to earn money, but you have taken that risk because you wanted to create an identity. Now, your identity is the reflection that is going to be seen in the society, and there are hundreds of people who are going to believe you and join your company. So your mindset needs to be trained. Your mindset needs to be in a position that can take up the challenges, and that should be in a position to understand that, yes, there are people who are trusting on me. So now, when you go for a training program, you're not just going to get trained to understand certain skills, some mathematical, some accounting skills, or some computer-based skills, but you are going to get trained for this factor that, yes, I am going to become an employer and not an employee. So my mindset is all about generating employment. I should be ready to take up all the challenges. I should transform myself into a leader from a manager. So that is what we aim at the EDP training program. We do not want managers anymore. We want leaders. We want visionaries. We want people who can take the organization to the next level. We want people who can shoulder the risk, who can understand the people emotions and guide the business to the next level. So that's where you need to have a transformation both from your mind, body and soul. Now the next thing is that, as I was talking about the thinking factor. As an employee, your mind is locked between 9 to 5. That's what is your mind all about. You think about that 8 hours of job and you think about the salary that will come to you at the end of the month. But as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a visionary, your job is not to think from 9 to 5. Your aim is to think beyond the hours of working. That means that 24 hours is not enough for you. Why? Because you are transforming yourself into an innovator. You are transforming yourself into a leader who can think further, who's not just going to restrict himself to the number of hours that is seen on the clock. You want to understand that every single minute, every single hour is a time of innovation. You can change the world. You can bring in a rapid transformation altogether. So that's why what you would be doing here is that through this program, you are going to guide, you are going to tell people how effectively we can run a business, how effectively we can bring a change into this society. So our ambition, our thought process is more about becoming leader, more about becoming an entrepreneur who can bring in substantial change in the field of a particular sector altogether. Now, the other thing is that in this EDP program, we have a set of programs which are tailor-made, which are exclusively prepared so that they address the challenge of those respective sectors. Now, for example, I want to start up a company which is going to address in the areas of packed food or in the agriculture area or in some cottage-based industry. So we have tailor-made programs which will actually guide you, tell you what exactly you need to do in order to build your skills in that area. Now, the other factor that you need to understand in this training program is that you can probably bring with you n number of people. All of them can undergo the training, and this is something which is never ending. It doesn't mean that once I have attended a training, it's the end of the session. Rather, it's going to be a lifelong learning process through which you are going to learn something new every day. When we talk about the training program, this is also going to be a journey which is going to take forward in terms of making you equipped both practically as well as from the intellectual standpoint of how to make the business better. Now, the next thing is the objectives of the EDP. The first objective is to motivate an individual to choose entrepreneurship. Now, I would like to talk about this for a minute. Why? Because motivation, what people always say, is the biggest key to success. But let us understand here, the motivation, what we are talking about in entrepreneurship is not just about pepping up somebody, telling somebody that yes, you can do it. That's not the kind of motivation that we are talking about. We are talking about a motivation that can transform you. So the motivation that you really need to become an entrepreneur is not just about few lines or few stories or few successful case studies. But what you need exactly as a motivation is a very clear guided path that can tell you how exactly entrepreneurs are facing the challenge and how they have exactly transformed themselves. Many a times, people confuse this factor of motivation saying that by looking into some videos or by listening to somebody's speech or looking at a movie, I get motivated. But that motivation is a temporary one. It doesn't stick to you for a longer time. Why? Because after some period of time, you start understanding that that was just a movie. That's not me. I cannot do that because that was just a carryover, that's all. For me, what is really working is that I need to take up the job hands-on. apply it, see where is the challenges and what exactly is happening into the situation. Then I will come back and believe that yes, there is some motivation, yes, there is some changes, yes, there are some factors. So for me, the motivation that I'm talking about through an EDP program is all about transforming your career from a manager to a leader, which requires a careful thinking. Because you should not come back tomorrow and say that I just got motivated by a training program and I switched my career from a manager to an entrepreneur. The aim here is that to make you think carefully whether entrepreneurship would be the right path for you. So that is why we say that the motivation as an entrepreneurship into that career mode is very, very important. The second thing is that to exploit the market opportunities for your own business. Now, when you start looking into this market opportunities, let me just throw some examples to you, starting from Farm Easy, MedPlus, or any of these kind of medicinal apps. These are not just available or existing because they thought that they can transform the business altogether, but they understood the opportunity that has been given to them. So when you want to start a business, you need to understand the opportunity that lies in the market as well as from the growth standpoint of view. So that is why the entrepreneurship program is all about making you think what exactly the market needs right now. You might have a brilliant idea, no doubt about it, but then is it practical? Is it feasible? Is that what market needs right now? That's where the question arises. So what we try to do through this training is that make you understand the opportunities and how that opportunity can exactly work for you. So that is what we are trying to do as a program factor altogether. Now, these objectives can be set for both a short-term and long-term basis. There are many people in India who want to look entrepreneurship both from a part-time as well as full-time basis. Certain people still have the fear factor who believe that, sir, I don't want to become an entrepreneur right now. I don't want to jump on it full-time. I will continue doing a job which will pay me my salary during my free hours, during the part-time. Let me just start a small business. Let me just venture it out and see whether it works. Now, in that case, what the EDP Training Institute says is that we are okay with it. We are ready to give you a short-term as well as a long-term plan, making you understand what exactly works for you. Sometimes you might feel that, yes, this is what I wanted. Sometimes you might feel that, no, I'm looking for something which is completely on a tailor-made solution. So we have answers to all your questions. We want you to get trained, understanding on the motivation, market opportunities, as well as the kind and nature of work that you need to take upon. Followed by the short-term objectives. What are the short-term objectives all about? These objectives can be achieved immediately. In short-term, individuals are trained to become an entrepreneur, made competent enough to scan the existing market situation and environment. Now, if you look into the business of logistics and delivery, moment you started seeing apps like Zomato, Swiggy, Flipkart, Amazon, Big Basket, Grofers coming into picture, everybody started picking logistics as the most appropriate business. The reason is very simple, because these people need an intermediary to reach their customers on time. So a short-term objective, if you just want to get into a part-time entrepreneurship role, sir, I can work 4 hours a day or 5 hours a day and deliver and make some money, automatically you have the answer. So that's where exactly I'm trying to say the short-term objectives. We only teach you in terms of identifying an opportunity that would be of an immediate satisfaction right now. Moment that immediate satisfaction happens, then you are ready. You know that that's what exactly is happening, and that is what is going on in the mindset. So moment you get it in place, So you are ready to kickstart the program, you are ready to take it forward, and you are ready to make some money out of it. That's a perfectly a short-term objective which is acceptable in nature. We are not saying that that is not possible at all. It is there. That's what people would look in at the first time. But a person would be a future entrepreneur should set the goal first. So your goal is that you want to be a logistics player for a long term, or you want to just continue doing that part-time. What exactly your goal is in terms of doing this business. So what we do through this EDP program is that the information related to the rules, regulation are being explained in the stage. Now, I want to start up a business with Flipkart or with Amazon as a delivery partner. What exactly I need to know about it? Is it enough that I just have a vehicle and I start loading and unloading the goods? Is that what it's all about? Or should I know something even more better? So what we tend to do in a training program is that we understand your short-term objectives and we design a course so that you are able to understand what is needed in order to run that business successfully. Once you have understood the business, once you have started feeling that yes, I'm comfortable doing this particular activity again and again, then we start taking you to a long-term objective and where you can become a full-time entrepreneur, having your own business, running it successfully. Now, moving forward, the long-term objective. Now, assuming that I have understood the business and my ultimate objective is that I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to define my own rules and regulations. I don't want to be a part of a system where I keep reporting to people, where my boss keeps me calling 10 times a day. I don't want to live a life like that. I want to live a life on my own. I want to have my own terms and conditions, which means my long-term objective is that I become an entrepreneur, a full-time entrepreneur, understanding the risk, understanding the modalities, the formalities, and I'm ready to take it up and go forward. So in that case, I need to upgrade my skills to run the business smoothly. So this is where the next journey starts. From a short term, I'm moving to long term, which means I'm upgrading myself. I'm ready to take that. I want to understand what are all the challenges, what would be the upcoming factors. Now, the next thing is that the overall objectives of EDP are mainly in terms of the rapid industrialization by supplying skilled entrepreneurs at the same time taking up the industrialization in the underdeveloped areas. One side, as an individual, probably you would be looking yourself as an opportunity where I can start how to take it forward. But from the institute standpoint, let me also tell you that what we are typically trying to do, or we are typically trying to build you into a factor, into a form, is that we want to see that the industrialization wave has to set in with youngsters like you, with people like you who are interested in entrepreneurship. Now, what do I exactly mean by that is there are many areas in India which has not picked up the industrialization surge. They are still lagging behind compared to those big metro cities. So where we want the youngsters to really venture out, see that yes, there is industrialization wave that can be picked up. So you can go take up those opportunities, take those factors and start developing. And the most important thing is that through the training, we want the skill set to reach some hundreds and thousands of people across so that all of them are able to get themselves completely immersed in the field of entrepreneurship and take it forward. Now, the next thing is that the performance of the small and medium scale industries are expected to improve by this, and therefore providing a huge scope of employment generation in that sector. MSME is one sector which anybody loves to talk about. The reason is that MSME is a sector which people always try to avoid. They're not really happy about this sector. The micro, small, medium enterprises are always a very big challenge for the simplest reason. The nature and scope of the business is very, very little. They do not have a wide range of operations at all. They have a very small set of operations which are included. So now what happens is that the performance of these institutes or organization is always affected by land, labor, capital problems. But then the entrepreneurship program intends to understand all these challenges, try to make you better so that you are able to provide employment opportunities as well as run the business smoothly. So at one point of time, the focus starts coming on to this MSME, where we want to improve the scope of the business, because this is the sunrise sector where you will be able to provide employment to hundreds and thousands of people across India, especially on the rural sector altogether. So this has to be emphasized. This has to be given all kind of format and help. This program primarily aims at the self-employment to the young generation. That word really needs to be thought about 100 times. Self-employment. Why? Because the current generation is going through a very big transformation phase. With the pandemic setting across and everybody fearing about losing their jobs, the financial instability, the economy going down, everybody now wants to stand on their own feet. They want to establish a business which is fail-proof, and they also want to see that they are able to create their own identity. Why? Because now the dynamics of the workplace is changing. Now nobody wants to go and work in an office for 8 or 9 hours using a laptop or sitting before a desktop. What people want to do is start building a virtual office, work from home, connect people across, create a dynamic app and start moving further. So what is happening in the younger generation is they need a rapid transformation. Now, I would like to just talk about for a while the app or the online education app called as the QMath. Now, when you look at QMath or when you look at White Hat Junior, imagine young kids who are able to write programs and develop apps by themselves. They are all at the age of 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 years who are able to write their own programming through that White Hat Junior, or through learning through some other online skills, and they have started establishing themselves as programmers, as founder of their own apps, which means probably in the next 5 or 10 years you will be able to see a rapid transformation where the young generation has their own office, has their own identity. They don't want to work under anybody. They want to transform their world sitting right at their home. So the self-employment concept, I can stand on my own feet, is going to be the next big mantra in terms of employment. So that is where the EDP program is also trying to focus. Now, moving further, the basic features of an entrepreneurship development program. What are the basic features? How is the program actually looking into? Identification and careful selection of entrepreneurs for training. So we look into the people who are really into training, how we need to train them, what are all the factors that we need to go through. The second thing is developing the entrepreneurial capacities or capabilities of the trainee, equipping the trainee with basic managerial understanding, ensuring viable project for each potential entrepreneur altogether. Now, the first thing that we want to do is that identification and careful selection of entrepreneurs for training. Not everybody is interested to get trained. Not everybody wants to have a formal training. Why? Because the mindset is not yet in a position. Many people think that, okay, we'll first start a business, let us see if it works or not. If it doesn't work, then okay, fine, I'll just get back to a job. So what we try to do here is that when you select people to get trained, they should have the mindset to accept the knowledge, accept the facts, the challenges, and then take part in the program. You cannot just take people who believe that, yes, I know everything, I am from already an entrepreneurial family, so I have the roots, I have the background, why should I just attend a training and waste my time? So my aim here is that I first of all understand the needy people who want the correct training and then take them forward. The next thing is that developing the entrepreneurial capabilities of a trainee. So once you start attending a program, you have enrolled for a program and you have started going through the rigorous formalities of the program, I want you to develop the entrepreneurial capacities. I don't want you to give up on the program. I want you to understand what are all the different factors, formats that have been mentioned in that particular program. So whether you like it or not, now let's say that you have taken up the journey of entrepreneur, which means your mind is now ready to take up the challenges, ready to take up all the factors that have been told. So automatically you should be in a position to take it forward with you. You should be in a position to understand and move forward. Equip the trainee with the basic managerial understanding and strategic factors. Now, that is quite interesting. Why? Because equip the trainee. What do you want him to be equipped with? You want them to be equipped with a particular skill. See, for example, there are many entrepreneurs who know about their business, but they don't know how to communicate. So there might be an entrepreneur who wants to join a training program because he wants to develop his communication ability. There might be an entrepreneur who's good in communication but does not have the enough accounting skills. There might be an entrepreneur who has a very good accounting skill but does not know about marketing. So at every given instance, what I'm trying to identify is what is that you exactly need to develop the program, to develop the business altogether. So you are joining this program so that I make you understand the overall picture of the business and take it forward. Now, the ensuring viable industrial project for each potential entrepreneur. Now, when you look into the potentiality of every business today, the question that always comes first is that, should I take up this project? Is this project right for me? So when I look into a project like educational technology, or when I look into a project like graphics and animation, suddenly I look into a project which is like outsourcing. All these things look similar to me, or they might look that, okay, I can do any of this because I know about them. But when I get into the project, I get this feeling, I get this factor that, no, this is not the right project. I was not looking for this. I was looking for a project that would be more interesting, more dynamic. So what we go back and tell our young entrepreneurs is that, look for the viability of the project. What is that project actually making you excited? Why is that this project you need to take it up? What are the skills that are there with you that can exactly match with the project? So that is why we look for the industrial viability. The next thing is that the course contents of an EDP. The course contents of the EDP are the technical risk, the economic risk, the social risk, and the environmental risk. So what are these risks all about? Entrepreneurship itself is a risk factor, but inside that risk factor, we have a segregated set of factors. Now, the first one is the technical risk, which means to say that the risk of not knowing enough about the technical process or material. Technology has always been a Latin and Greek for many of us, because we believe that technology is not for us. Technology is something which is as simple as using a mobile phone, and half of the functions of the mobile phone we do not know. So similarly, when we come into the roles of an entrepreneur starting up a business, and if that business has got some adaptation to technology, we do not know that. We think that that can be done, that can be outsourced to a person who is capable on it. Why should I worry about it? But in an entrepreneurial role, I will always say that it is better that you understand the technology at least from the functional aspect. What is the technology? Why are we using this technology? With this technology, what can we achieve? So you should know the fundamental concepts of the technical aspects of the technology that is being used, so that you will be able to take forward the business confidently. The next one is economic risk, the fluctuations that are involved. This is probably one risk that all of us would have calculated and even thought about it before even starting the business. Why it is? Because we all know that the economic risk that is involved with the market is quite huge. What are all the fluctuations that can happen in the market? Where will I be losing the money? Where would I be getting into a problem where I'm not being able to recover back? So the economic risk of the business is mandatory for all of us to understand and take it forward. followed by the social risk, the inherent development of this particular program with that too of the society. Because I always say that there's a lot of inherent risks that are related to a particular app, to a particular system altogether. Not every business is that easy to run because society has its own plus and minus talking about your business, talking about your system altogether. Now, for example, I want to start a business like a gym. For example, I want to get into a fitness altogether. Now, to start up a fitness chain altogether, it is not that easy. Why? Because when I talk about a metro city, that's a different way of outlook into it. When I look into a rural sector, fitness chains might not be a very big success program. So socially, how does the environment look at you? Followed by the environmental risk, where I'm talking about the changes in environment, the work culture, the diversity, the people, nature, all those factors also need to be understood. So overall, in the EDP program, what do we tend to do is that make you understand the risk in a practical manner. That is the most important thing. The risk is always there. There is no way that you can escape from the risk. But what we are trying to do here is that we are trying to make you understand how the risk factors and how the risk has to be avoided. Now, the next one is the entrepreneurial need of this program. Why? Because as we are training and we are guiding people together today to lead to the next level, we feel that this program is the need of the hour. And upcoming on the time basis, we want people to become a part of this program so that they don't depend on just employment, but they become their own leaders. They start getting their own business with all the competitiveness and the industrial growth altogether. Now, the thrust of entrepreneurship is not just to make people believe on entrepreneurship, but to motivate them, bring a change in their career, make them understand that yes, they can do it better. So that's why we feel that the need for entrepreneurship is mandatory here. Now, the unemployment problem, as I was talking about in India or in any other part of the world, it has been alarmingly going up because of the pandemic, because of so many factors that I'm talking about. Now, but then what we need to understand is that can we just try to avoid these programs? Can we just try to throw away from this and again we will restore ourselves back to normality? The question cannot be given an easier answer. The answer to that is let's start looking into entrepreneurship, at least in a small way. Let's take it up. Let's start the journey. Let's see that where we can go up in the journey so that sometime down the lane, even if you don't have a job, but you can rely on your entrepreneurial skills and start building something on your own. With this, I come to the end of this particular session. I hope and believe that all the contents that were spoken through this session was of a great help and resource to you. In the upcoming sessions, we will be talking more about the entrepreneurship development programs and the systems altogether. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.